Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast presented by CVG. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank. I hope you guys are ready for another jam-packed episode because we have 3 guests on the podcast today. Thank you to our podcast sponsors, CVG, our title sponsor, C-Crew Consulting, our digital sponsor, and our episode sponsor, Haran. Like I said, we've got 3 guests. Up first, I will talk with Jes Averhart, our keynote speaker for the Women's Initiative 14th Annual Breakfast, sponsored by PNC Bank. That event is coming up this week on Thursday, February 16th, and you can still register for that event at nkychamber.com/WIBreakfast23. After that, I'll introduce you all to Farduwsa Hassan, the owner of Leila Urgent Care, which just opened up in Hebron. Then Ashley Dubois is back to host NKY at Work. She is joined by Kareem Simpson of the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission and SparkLight Creative Group. So I will not waste your all's time. Let's go meet our members of the week, hear from our sponsors, and Ashley and I will be back here with your guests.
CVG Airport is the lowest fare airport in the tri-state region with 54 nonstop flights and direct international service to 7 destinations, including Paris, France, and now home to both DHL's and Amazon's global cargo hubs. The airport is furthering its position as leader in aviation and is deeply committed to being an economic driver for the community. You can learn more and start your next adventure at cvgairport.com.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention, uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. C-Crew gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, C-Crew generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can C-Crew do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Hi, everyone. I am joined by Jes Averhart, who is our keynote speaker for the upcoming Women's Initiative Annual Breakfast sponsored by PNC. Jes, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Sarah, thank you for having me. I love this invitation. This might be the highlight of my day, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, awesome. And I hope it can be the highlight of our listeners' days, too. So, Jes, tell me a little bit about you and about your background and what you do.
Ooh, it's just such a big question. Me, my background, what I do. I think today, like we're recording this in January, just a few weeks before the time I'm with you all in Northern Kentucky. My world, my work really is focused around women and their potential, right? A lot of times people talk about women and women's empowerment, and I am all those things too. But I really, at the core of it, is like their potential to be great citizens in the community, their potential to be great mothers and daughters and partners and CEOs and entrepreneurs. Like, what is the potential of that? And I love to sort of like stir that up a little bit and see if we can push. My background, I started out very close to you all at GE Aviation. When I worked there, it was GE Aircraft Engines in Cincinnati, right out of school in finance. Worked my way around, worked in partnership with the Bengals down there, and moved around sort of in the sports industry for a couple of years, and then made my way to North Carolina. So I was born and raised just hours from you all, and have a real heart for the Midwest and for this area and for the people of that area, because everybody has their flavor, right? So I'm excited to come back and just gonna feel like coming home a little bit.
Yeah, that is so exciting. And so when you are presenting at Women's Initiative Annual Breakfast, like you said, you're about women's empowerment. So what can people kind of expect from your presentation?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm going to have some fun because I love to be in places and create good energy, and I love to be in good energy. So the very first thing people should expect is like, don't miss it. You're going to have a good time, and you're going to feel like, gosh, if you miss it, you're going to hear from people and they'll be like, oh, you should have been there. So we're going to have some fun. And I'm also going to be very intentional about challenging us into our potential. This idea of repeating or evolving. And, I'll talk about that every day we have 2 choices: to repeat or evolve. And that choice lives with us. So I'm going to explore that a little bit. I also am currently, so this is hot off the presses. I'm starting to write about it now. I'm in a 4-part series of like really thinking deeply about this. I'm really curious about performance culture and like this need to just always be on and perform, and what does that mean and why, and um, what are why is that good maybe in some places, and maybe what's the shadow of all of that where it can get us stuck. So I have my talk developed, but I am in the process of adding a few new thoughts that will probably be dropped with you all for the very first time. So
That is
that's what they
very
can expect.
exciting. That is awesome. And I kind of love the idea that you're changing it up and you're still developing it, even though we're only a couple months out. I'm excited to see it. Your big thing is reinvention. You
Yes.
have done the reinvention road trip. And in fact, your presentation is called The Power of Reinvention, How to Stay Relevant and Personally Inspired in the Workplace. And I think that is something really important, especially nowadays. We're talking about this burnout. We're talking about ways that we can feel connected with our work and not feel stressed about it. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I think let's start with the definition of reinvention. Okay. So, if you looked it up, I just happen to have it memorized because it's my work. Reinvention is the act or process by which something is changed so much that it appears entirely new. So the action or process by which something's changed so much that it appears entirely new. The world went through a reinvention by force a couple of years ago. And because of that, it trickled down. Everybody by de facto had to reinvent themselves, become entirely new in order to survive, in order to stay mentally strong, in order to stay physically strong. We had to figure out ways to do it in a way that was new and different and that worked for us in our schedules, with kids running around and lunches changing and all the things that we had to do. Or we're an essential worker and we had to carry more on our backs because other people were at home. Just everything changed. And so my talk in this idea about staying personally inspired in the workplace is really like in this new market, in this
Right.
new world, with this new lens. Because how we stayed inspired in 2019, 2018 was different and is different than how we're going to stay connected to our work, how we're going to stay connected to our why, how we are going to stay inspired around our goals that are 5-10 years down the road. All of that shifted a little bit. And the question is, are we compelled or to go backwards and like relive the glory days? Or are we motivated more to explore what this new thing is, what your new self might look like? And I'm doing that literally in real time. I'm making choices and decisions in my business literally in the last couple of weeks that would not have been choices I would have made a year ago. I am actively pursuing my fulfillment, actively pursuing the work that I want to do. And it means saying no to things that on the surface seem obvious. So how do you stay personally inspired? We're going to explore that a little bit, but it's all through the lens of reinvention and knowing that no one escaped that. Everybody is fundamentally different today than they were before. And how do you be your best self in that moment?
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite events every year. The chamber hosts.
Awesome.
And one other thing before I let you go, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but the theme of Women's Initiative Annual Breakfast this year is Stronger, Wiser, Better Together. What does that theme mean to you?
Oh man, well, we're all going to be together. So the together is easy because we'll look around and just feel the energy of what it really does mean to be stronger and wiser together. We're going to be at small tables, right? Everybody's on a table. That's going to feel force multiplied. Then we'll look around and we'll be in this room that will feel more force multiplied. It would be an impossibility, I think, to leave that space and not feel stronger, wiser because of the connections, the conversation, the hopefully my talk, right? And better together, stronger together. Like that is going to be an outcome of the talk, right? It's not so much let's work on it and do it in 90 days. It's like, no, right now, in this moment, as soon as people walk out those doors, that should be how they feel. And I love this theme. I think it is beautiful. I think women, when we come together in ways like this, like a breakfast, it can be extraordinarily powerful. And because of that, then the community wins.
Yeah, I agree. I do not think I could have ever said those words like that, but Jess, that was beautiful.
Thank you. Well, no, this is a pleasure. You said this was going to be easy, Sarah. You were not kidding. This is a little fun conversation. Ask me
I'm
more,
telling
girl.
you. So before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to share with our podcast viewers and listeners today?
Oh gosh. Well, if you haven't purchased your ticket, please do join us. Join me. I love these events, and I am really into it. So like I will be running around. I probably will not eat. I will try to meet as many people as I possibly can. I want to know you. I want to hear your stories. If I have time to do that, I want to hear it. It's a space to be present. And so I look forward, it's just in a couple weeks. So I look forward to seeing you all and meeting you all and staying connected long after the breakfast ends. So thanks for the invite for today. Appreciate it.
Yes, of course. And so for our viewers and listeners who have not already registered for annual breakfast sponsored by PNC, that is taking place once again on Thursday, February 16th from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And you can register now at nkychamber.com/events or nkychamber.com/WIBreakfast23. And Jes, thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we will highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. Whitehorse Freight has a vision to build the most opportunistic environment for our sales force to succeed by creating long-lasting relationships. Nostalgic Garage is trying to bring back a lost era, not only by rebuilding automobiles, but by adding current-day technologies to assist with safety and convenience. Resource Exhibit and Event Services plans and produces events for overwhelmed professionals short on time and resources. Whether it's refurbishing a tired commercial or industrial space to providing construction and maintenance services, Bainum Solutions has their customers' most valued assets covered. Economic Development Group is focused on helping companies and communities develop and implement practical economic development strategies aligned with growth priorities. Hi everyone, today on the podcast I am joined by Farduwsa, Hassan, who is the owner of Leila Urgent Care, which is recently opened in Hebron. Farduwsa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about you and about your business.
So my business name is Leila Urgent Care. We started back in September of last year as a telehealth, and then we seen that the community needed more in-person services, and we decided to change the business name from telehealth to urgent care. The name Leila Urgent Care is now what we've been known for. We have a lot of services that we provide for the community, from COVID vaccine to COVID test and sport physical and so on. We also see younger kids from 8 2 and up, so that helps a lot of the parent that can go and see their primary care right when their kids get sick. We are located in Hebron, very quiet area, but it's easy to find.
Yeah, and that area is growing so much, so it's so nice that there is an urgent care facility right there for that community that is growing very quickly.
Yes, and I hear that a lot. My patient and their family will come and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for opening urgent care here. We really need one in this area. So we are very excited to be able to serve with that community.
Yeah, that is so great. And tell me a little bit about, so you used to do telehealth, and now you've pivoted, to this permanent location that you have. Why did you make the change?
Well, like I said earlier, that a lot of our decision had to do with patient reaching out and saying, we want to see you in person, can we do it? And many of our services, we can do it via telehealth, from patient being at their home, at their own comfort home. But there's certain things that we need to see people, like if we need to do the COVID vaccine, right, or COVID test, or if a child is complaining of ear pain, so we need to be able to look at their ears. Those kind of services, it has to be in person. And being an urgent care, you have to be able to be accessible for the patients. So we decided, let's have an office where we can serve everyone.
So you guys are celebrating your grand opening. By the time this podcast will air, it will have been open, but you guys are looking forward to that this weekend.
Yes, we'll be open this weekend, February 4th. We are super excited. We're gonna have the ribbon cutting ceremony. So, and just kind of meet the community. We'll have our staff there to introduce themselves to the community, people that come in and join the open house. So we are very excited. Yeah.
That is awesome. And it's been a journey. One of the things I thought that you said before we started filming was really interesting is how involved you want to be in the community.
Yes, so I am from Somalia, East Africa. I speak Somali, Arabic, and of course English. But one of the reasons that I wanted to open this urgent care and hoping in the future to expand it to more of a primary care, but the reason that I wanted to open is to be able to help those who are non-English speakers. We have equal access opportunity, but if you have that language barrier, it's not necessarily equal. And I want to be able to tell those who don't speak the language, hey, if you are Somali or you speak Somali, you speak Arabic, I'm a provider. I'm here for you whenever they can't get to their primary care. I'm accessible to them.
Yeah.
So, and in the future, we are hoping to expand and be able to work with different health care in Northern Kentucky, just to be able to reach out to those who are language literacy. There's a gap of that.
Yeah, that is such an important service. One of the phrases you used earlier was filling that gap.
Yes.
That we have in the community as we're seeing a big immigrant population grow in Northern Kentucky.
Yes, I moved here back in 2011. If you look at the comparison from 2011 today, there has been a bigger growth when it comes to becoming diversity. I started school. Whenever I go to school, 90% of the time I'll be the only Muslim or the only covered up girl in that class. But today, if you go into the school, you'll see that diverse. And it's really great to be able to see that, there is that familiar face, that somebody that, has the same background as you, and they are here in the healthcare field. People are more perceptive to come in and seek that medical necessity. That sometimes they kind of like, I'll get over with it. What's the point? If I go to the doctor, they're probably gonna go call interpreter and this and that. And sometimes it's one of the reasons why people who don't speak the language don't want to go to their doctor or to urgent care, seek that health services, because it takes so long for them to receive that service. And it's not that people not trying, but it's just because that language barrier, there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump in order to get that service. So I'm hoping that I can let them know, like, I'm here and I will be able to help you as much as I can, because one, I speak your language, and two, we have the same background. And it comes to the background a lot of time. If they are more, familiar to where you came from, they are more trusting.
Right.
Than if you are, they come in and they're like, I really don't feel like going there because it's a longer process. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And you have that shared background, you have a shared experience that really, I'm sure, helps you make connections with these patients that are coming in that are maybe unfamiliar with where they are or learning the area, and you're here to help guide them and take care of their health needs.
And I'm hoping that, in the future that we can work with other healthcare services in Northern Kentucky to be able to help this community, the immigrant community, that, hey, we hear you and we want to listen to you. Yeah.
No, that is so important, and it's such a beautiful story. On top of the fact that it's just great that you're opening an urgent care in Hebron, you have this layer that is helping the community in a way that, we don't really see very often.
Yes, and we are very, very excited about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is great.
We will have our website and phone number and everything.
Yeah. And if there's a way for people to get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Just calling the office, or we have we try to make our service really easy for people to come in. And on the website, you have where you can make an appointment. So that way you don't really have to do the whole calling and, somebody not being there to answer your call. You can make an appointment via the internet. Or with that, you can also do, if you can say, I want a virtual versus in person, we have both options up on the website. Also, you can call to make an appointment. So there's two ways, whichever one you want.
Oh, well, great. Well, Farduwsa, thank you so much for joining us today. Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to share about Leila Urgent Care or yourself or anything else?
We are very excited being able to serve the community, and we just look forward to take care of you and your families.
Well, great. Well, Farduwsa, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. My name is Ashley Dubois, and I serve as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at the Northern Kentucky Chamber. I am joined by my host, Kareem Simpson. Kareem, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how long you've been in Northern Kentucky?
Sure. My name is Kareem Simpson. I'm the Director of Fatherhood at the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission. I am a lifelong, I was born in Northern Kentucky. I was born in Newport, raised in Covington. Only been away from the area for about 4.5 years during the Army.
Oh, okay. So when you left, you knew you wanted to come back.
I didn't know I wanted to come back, but I did come back because my family was here. And
Okay.
I knew I needed to there was still a narrative to be written for me in Northern Kentucky.
Oh, can you tell us a little bit about that narrative and how that has led you to this current role at the Community Action Commission?
Sure. So I throughout, when I came back from the Army, it was another lifetime ago, I was able to do a lot of different careers. I went back to school. I was in the for-profit realm for a long time, but nonprofit was the calling for me. I actually started my quote-unquote nonprofit career and getting my feet wet, actually working at the Kenton County Public Library more than 20 some odd years ago.
Wow.
And so I went to the Army, came back, said, well, let me try this nonprofit stuff again, or this kind of social community kind of engagement piece. So I worked at a couple different places, Community Action Agency in Cincinnati, and also kind of found my space, my real footing back home, actually, in Northern Kentucky Community Actions Commission, which I am a product of. I went to Head Start in 1980 something.
Look at that. I like the something.
Yeah.
The something at the end. Okay, and so the role that you currently hold is fatherhood. Why is that so important to our community right now? Like, why do we still need that in 2023?
So one of the things that has been pretty traditional in social service as a whole is there hasn't been a space carved out specifically for dads. Social services has been traditionally kind of mom-centric, which isn't a bad thing, but it leaves like half of the equation out, right?
Yeah.
So there's always been, or for the past like probably 15 or so years, there's been an initiative on the federal level to include fathers in programming. So we were lucky enough to get a federal grant to provide fatherhood services to our dads here in Northern Kentucky.
Is it going well? Are we getting a lot of interest in this area?
We're getting a super amount of interest. Things definitely took a change during COVID. We wrote the grant pre-COVID. We saw in COVID that, and that's with a lot of our programs, that you can't run your program the same way that you did pre-COVID after COVID. People have a lot of different interests, a lot of different expectations, and a lot of different choices to make money and to spend their time.
Yeah.
So it's going well. I love the interaction. I love seeing the fathers actually say, "Oh my God, you got a space for me? I'm coming."
Yeah.
And so it's great, and we work with them over a 12-week period. So it's more of you see the change, you see a little bit of change in them for the better.
I love that. And so what other ways are you involved in the community? Because I'm sure to have a role like this, you have to get out of your office and go into the community and interact with some of our constituents in a very different kind of way. We can't sit and do this work behind our desks. So what other ways do you get involved in the community?
So I really love community service. I've been lucky enough to be placed on a couple of different boards around the region. I sit on the Planning Commission board for Kenton County. I sit on the board for the Covington Partners. Also, Community and Restorative Justice, I sit on their board. This past election season, I was elected to the Covington School Board, so I'm super excited about that.
Congratulations!
Thanks. I graduated from Holmes High School, which is a Covington independent school, so it's great to give back. And also, since about 2004, I've ran my own personal and professional consulting business called SparkLight Creative Group, where I actually target minority-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses to help them get to the next level of success.
Yeah. With your business entity, what was going on at that time where you said, we need this and I have something that I can now give to the community?
So it started, like I said, in 2004. I was working at the library and I saw that there was, I'm going to date myself, there was a need for people to learn how to use the computer.
Yes.
in 2004-ish, and how to actually create resumes on the computer, how to use Microsoft Word, how to use the internet. So the library was offering classes to do all of those things, but there were individuals that wanted a little bit more or weren't comfortable coming to the library. So that's kind of where it started. And then it kind of snowballed from there. And I look at some of the business, I do business plans, look at some of the businesses that I've created, Black-owned outerwear. I created their business plan. Downtown Cincinnati, Black and their coffee lounge.
Their coffee lounge, yeah.
Left Bank Coffee House.
I didn't know that.
I did their business plan. Chad Creative, House of Art and Design.
We've had them on the podcast.
Cactus Pear, which is I did their business plan. Sloan Fashion Boutique, Inspired Fashion.
Oh, yeah.
All of those. So I just see them succeeding, and it's not that I made them the success. They made themselves the successful. I just helped them take the first step.
Yeah.
And so it's been giving me chills just thinking about it.
That's amazing. That's a pretty interesting resume you got over there.
I appreciate that.
And so with your group, you went on this journey to start collecting data, which for me is a 6-love language. Like, I don't understand how we left that one out. But what made you want to do it, and what do you hope to get from that information?
I wanted to, the data that you're speaking of, I'm going to be releasing a report on Northern Kentucky Black business. So basically the state of Northern Kentucky Black business. And everyone's kind of been tiptoeing around. We do have some reports of kind of Cincinnati Black business. We as a Northern Kentucky region traditionally gets kind of left out, carved out a lot of the narratives. I mean, our backs are to Kentucky, which is kind of hard. So you get a lot of coverage in Lexington and Louisville. Cincinnati, I mean, I love Cincinnati. Half of my family lives in Cincinnati, but we're kind of like the stepchild of Cincinnati. So their backs are to us. So we kind of get carved out, but we have a very rich, very strong, very traditional history of Black-owned businesses here in Northern Kentucky, and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And so I got tired of waiting for other people to do it. So I'm going to help to get it done. I'm going to do it.
And so do you have a date for the release?
It will be by the end of February.
By the end of February. Yeah. Okay, so if people would like to get in touch with you and maybe learn more or even help with the business plan, can you tell them maybe how to reach you on both platforms, if that's okay?
Definitely. My website is the easiest. It's www.sparklightcreates.com. You can reach me at SparkLightCG on both Insta and Twitter.
Okay, perfect. Anything else that we should know? Anything else you have coming up besides the date, which I'm really excited for? So anything else that we can help you promote? Lastly,
I did start a Black Business Boot Camp, a 4-week boot camp. Last night was our first night, so we have about six entrepreneurs that I'm going to take them through the process of opening their business and creating a business plan. Each one of after these 4 weeks, we meet once a week, one night a week, and after those 4 weeks, they're going to have their very, very own business plan.
I love that.
So
that's awesome.
I'm really, really excited. And I get to talk to them about some of the pitfalls of going into business.
Yeah, because that's very important. Thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Anytime, we'll have to bring you on back after the data and really talk about what it looks like. Maybe we do a year in review, like what is going on now 1 year later as you have these boot camps.
Okay, you want that data?
Yes,
you want that tea? I'm telling you, I'm going to give it to you.
It's going to be amazing.
Okay.
This is going to be awesome. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you.
And we thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of NKY at Work. I am Ashley Dubois, and this has been my amazing host, Kareem Simpson.
Hi, I'm Shannon Schumacher, Account Executive, Kentucky Market Leader. At Haran, we champion bold innovation to help employers and individuals thrive. As an industry thought leader, we explore new horizons in healthcare, benefits, employee engagement, and wellness. We work harder to deliver all the strategic benefits, planning, and execution you expect from a true partner. And we do it with laser focus on your short and long-term outcomes to help manage your benefits while improving your employee experience.
Thank you all for joining us on another long episode of the Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing from all of today's great guests. Don't miss out on the Women's Initiative 14th Annual Breakfast, Stronger, Wiser, Better Together on Thursday. You can still register for that event at nkychamber.com/events or nkychamber.com/WIBreakfast23. Thank you again to our podcast sponsors, CVG, C-Crew Consulting, and Haran. Finally, if you are a member who would like to be featured on the podcast, or if you're interested in becoming a member of the Northern Kentucky Chamber, please reach out to Lynn Ablin. Or if you're interested in sharing your workforce strategies and resources on NKY at Work, please reach out to Nancy Spivey. You can find both of their contact information on the screen in front of you or on our website at our staff directory. Thanks again for joining us. I'll talk to you all next week.